And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Sliding down to SC off. Bring in SC off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks. How many of you remember the drill? Give me some 5x5s in chat and let me know if you can hear me. Das here on the stream. We will get started in just a second when I get some 5x5s and we know that all the lights are blinking in the order they're supposed to. That's a lot of 5x5s in chat. Do I sound good? Tell me I sound pretty.
Yes.
Thank you, EJ. I think we're good to go. All right. Well, everyone take their seats, please. Thank you for coming today. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of the spacecraft and the atmosphere of the planet from which it came. It's Starliner coming back down. Name of the mission is still CFT, Crew Flight Test, but there are no crew on board. Of course, right now we're looking at an animation of the International Space Station while we wait for some AOS, some signal coming from NASA. But we're going to see how this goes here. We haven't quite gotten to the re-entry burn, so Starliner is not quite on its way down yet. It has left the station, but in just a little bit we're going to get that entry burn, and then it'll be physics taking over, and we're going to see what happens. Not gonna be just me. You know how it goes. EJ, how you doing, dude?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. Happy to be here. Happy to see this capsule come back down. It's gonna be fantastic.
Hey, one way or the other, man. It's gonna do its thing. So
Yeah, one way or the other.
I tuned into the flame trench earlier and was
Yeah.
watching the spicy commentary coming down. So, anyways, EJ will be here with me. You know something? I don't actually know who else is talking. Adrian, you're in chat.
Yes.
You're not muted, so I guess you're gonna talk, aren't you?
Yes, it's us three, and I'm certainly excited for the next 80 because one way or the other, we have some more answers about Starliner in the next 80 or so minutes. Once then, it will hopefully hit the ground in White Sands.
All right, softly. Touchdown to the ground.
Soft touchdown.
With the airbag.
It's also a thing.
Yeah.
You will. I will bet you at some point I will say splashdown because I always fall to that behavior. I'm like, well, it's sand. Is it fair to say splashdown? I'm not sure.
I mean, under some conditions, sand can act as a fluid, so it might be fair to say that it's splashing down. But one way or the other, it's going to litho break at some point. So that's going to be the plan here, folks. Adrian's here, EJ's here, I'm here. We've got the team in the background as well, Kevin and Jay pushing buttons. Sounds like we might have NASA as well. Was that NASA I heard in my ear?
I think you did, and I think we're also getting first visuals here. The good thing is they write something on that. It says Flap 2, I
Flap
think.
2. Flap 2?
You can tell it's flap 2 because of the way it is.
It's like right there on the tin.
Yeah, it's pretty
They've
neat.
Labeled it for us. Is this
Imagine
Go ahead.
Imagine if they just wrote Flap 2 and 3 and everybody would search for 1. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
this is not coming from the spacecraft yet. This is actually the ISS feed that we're
Yes.
seeing.
Yes.
Yes. So we do have some information, but again, we're waiting for NASA to give us telemetry. We're going to have everything we can. We know that the WB-57, the aerial reconnaissance platform that NASA puts up for some of this stuff with the IR cameras and everything, is on its way. Look at that. It's almost like we planned to tell you that we had this ready to show. On its way out there, already passed over Odessa, sort of Midland area in Texas, just south of Carlsbad, if there's any cavern fans there. But it is heading towards White Sands, which is where the spacecraft will be heading this evening after it does the deorbit burn. Whew! How's everybody feeling? Chat? EJ? How
I'm
you
feeling all right. I'm feeling all right. I mean, entry, descent, and landing here is a lot of complex maneuvers that are going to happen really, really fast. So Starliner will do its deorbit burn, right? And then it'll reorient itself for service module jettison, and then it'll jettison the service module, and then it'll reorient again for descent and landing for reentry. It's a complex bit of maneuvers that's going to happen pretty fast. I mean, but I think honestly with, what Boeing and NASA have learned from these thruster blowouts over the last 2 months, kind of turned into a mid-duration mission here. Yeah. I'm pretty dang confident this capsule is going to get back down. I hope I don't eat my words there.
It's one of those things, like the entire mission has sort of been marked by, well, there are no guarantees. In engineering, in physics, like I can't even guarantee that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. It's a very high likelihood that the sun is going to come up tomorrow, because the chances of something happening that would cause the Earth to stop rotating or the sun to go out are very, very, very slim. But I can't actually guarantee it. And when you get into engineering things, especially when it's humans engineering things, there are no guarantees in any of this. So it's very tough. Like, I think this has really been... The tone has been set by the fact that you can't guarantee anything in engineering here. So we're going to see. Like, I am very hopeful that we get a spacecraft coming on down, and it has a perfectly nominal reentry, and it comes right back down on target and lands down gently. And were there astronauts on board, they would have been just fine, but there are no guarantees. So we are going to see what we get. Whew! Somebody hearing Windows noises? I didn't hear the Windows noise, but chat is saying they're hearing Windows noises.
I didn't hear them.
You didn't either? Yeah, I don't know.
No, I did not hear any.
You might have heard some Windows noises. Just saying.
Okay.
Thanks, God.
We will continue listening on. I'm going to assume that they can hear Kevin there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make it otherwise very awkward when we just reply to him.
So the timeline coming up here, we don't have a clock on the screen right now, but the deorbit burn is coming up in just over 30 minutes. It's currently 9:44 Central Time. They're sort of running operations in Central Time because that's where JSC, Johnson Space Center, is, right? And the deorbit burn is scheduled for 10:17 and 13 seconds p.m. in Central Standard Time, so just over 45 minutes. Right. Hey, look at that.
Yep. It's at net 45 minutes ish will be the beginning of the 43 minutes will be beginning of the deorbit burn, and before that, we will get the go no go for the deorbit burn, hopefully, which will be a polling of the team if they want to deorbit today.
Good deal. And this net is counting down to the expected touchdown, not the deorbit burn, correct?
I'm looking at it right now, but
that's the math I was just doing.
Yeah, but this would count. I'm looking at another timeline here I'm having. But I think there's also there's some timeline here. And there might also be changes to the timeline, because we have also seen early indicators of some changes in other regulatory paperwork, especially with like air and marine closures. So there will, of course, be adjustments, right? There will be some adjustments in the timeline. It's how it is. And we will see exactly when they come down. I would be very surprised if they come down exactly at the second at 11 and 52 seconds p.m. for the landing, because that's right now, at least with the old timeline, 11 p.m. and 52 seconds was the old moment of landing that they targeted.
Gotcha. So what we might have, we have a schedule that was given to us by NASA, and that may be subject to some changes. So as soon as we get an updated schedule, we can talk about those sorts of things. But yes, that is now counting down to about the original schedule, I guess the last schedule that we were provided. And if we get updates, we will pass them on here.
Yep. And we will probably get a better picture with the deorbit burn, because once that deorbit burn happens at a certain time, we can kind of get from there, right? And if we see that the deorbit burn has changed, we can probably assume that the whole trajectory after that will change. So watching when that will happen will be an interesting data point here.
Makes good sense. And if you're just joining us, clearly that is CGI on the screen. That is the International Space Station. We are awaiting telemetry or information or mission control loops or something like that from NASA to come online for our use here. But we're hanging out, letting you know what is going on and answering some, dare I say, we're going to answer questions about Starliner.
Yeah. Well, I actually thought it would be better to bring everybody up to speed. So not only, I mean, we're bringing, and we'll answer the questions in a second, but okay, so what's going on here? Well, we're going to see a crewed capsule come back down, but there's going to be no crew on board. NASA's opted to leave the 2 test pilots, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, up on the space station for a regular ISS rotation. The reason why is because NASA is having some kind of second thoughts about thrusters on Starliner, and they decided it'd be safer to leave the crew and have a Dragon come and get them, you know, the next time the bus comes by, so to speak, right? That Dragon's scheduled to come up on the 24th of September, and they're going to stay a 6-month duration stay and come back down in February 2025.
Yep.
Now, Starliner is going to come back down here, and it's going to land. It's going to land at White Sands Space Harbor. But what they're worried about here, and the reason why NASA took Butch and Sonny off of this in the first place, is because they're worried about thrusters blowing out. Now, NASA and Boeing have had some problems back and forth here with these thrusters seeing what's called thrust degradation. And this degradation is coming from, well, to put it very simply, it's coming from the thrusters overheating. These thrusters are overheating, and what it's doing is it's starting to fry components inside of the thruster, particularly the PTFE seal.
Some seals.
Yeah, exactly. It's a PTFE seal on the injector, on the nitrogen tetroxide injector on their thrusters. And you know, you don't want to strand, like, actually, they're not stranded at the ISS, right, boys? Like, they're definitely not, but you definitely don't want to strand them during entry, descent, and landing and have an uncontrolled re-entry with people on board. You know, at least with nobody on board, you can minimize the risk there. And that's why NASA chose to keep Butch and Sonny right up on that space station. And so the reason why this is kind of high profile is because, you know, we're not sure. I mean, NASA's pretty sure they're going to bring this thing down, but we're not sure if this thing is gonna get here. I don't know. Daz, what do you think? You think it's gonna go?
I mean, we're gonna see. I've said this before. Like when I was on the Flame Trench last week, I don't have all of the inside information, and sometimes NASA doesn't even let the people who have the inside information tell you about it, right? But what we're seeing here, these are actually replays, by the way. Sorry about the closed captions coming through there. But this was when Starliner went up to the station and was docking with the station there. This is sort of a replay that happened previously that is being shown right now. But EJ, like, I really do wonder. Like, I've heard so many different things back and forth. Oh, the capsule's not safe. Oh, the capsule's safe. I'll repeat the same thing that I said before that Garrett Reisman said, right? Our friend astronaut Garrett, who said it's not that it's not safe, right? It's just that they don't have to bet.
Johnson Space Center and our coverage of Boeing's crew flight test. I'm Brandy Dean with NASA.
And I'm Lauren Brennecke with Boeing. Starliner safely departed the International Space Station and is on its way back to Earth.
Starliner is making its return autonomously tonight without NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams after a decision to return without crew was made during a flight test readiness review last week. But the team here in Mission Control will be watching over Starliner over the course of the next hour and a half as the spacecraft fires its engines to drop back into Earth's atmosphere and make its way down for a landing in New Mexico at about 11 p.m. Central or midnight Eastern.
The team here is led tonight by Flight Director Rick Henfling with weather assistance from Flight Director Mike Lammers. Henfling is just under 7 minutes away from polling the flight controllers here in the room on their readiness for Starliner to perform its deorbit burn. We are monitoring that decision for you and will also speak live to our teams on the ground at Starliner's landing zone.
All right. So a little bit of it looks like the NASA/Boeing stream is kicking off there. We'll be cutting in and sharing some of that with you as we get it. A little bit of weird pixelation happening here, but same sort of stuff we were just talking about, right, EJ?
Yep. Yep, I mean, we're gonna see this downhill ride here, but yeah, Starliner did undock from the space station. It undocked pretty well from what we could tell. We saw that on the flame trench, right?
Yeah, earlier today, when y'all were doing the flame trench, it undocked and it did that, not avoidance maneuver, but the sort of get out of dodge maneuver where they use those forward
breakout.
thrusters. The breakout
Yeah.
maneuver. There you go. Get out of dodge, breakout. I don't work
Know
for
what you meant.
NASA.
Which is also they did that. They did that also primarily to reduce the load on the thrusters, right?
Correct.
They wanted that maneuver was primarily used because it would lessen the load on these on these problems on the thrusters right now, because that's one of the biggest items they are watching here right now, which is also why I think the deorbit burn, which is again about 20 or so minutes away, but more, that's gonna be a very interesting part of this, right? Because from what we can tell, NASA didn't voice any concern about the the parachute phase of this, or the reentry phase. The main concern that has been voiced is the thrusters.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting part of this all.
Yeah. I want to hop back to that real quick. EJ, you said PTFE seals, right?
It's a Teflon seal. Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my shower is installed with PTFE tape.
It's
That's what that stuff is.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This isn't like PTFE tape around a thread, right? But that is, dude. Hey, there's parts of the space program all over your house, and you don't even know. You're not wrong. So these are poppet seals. So it's kind of like a Teflon O-ring almost.
Yep.
Something kind of similar to that. But yeah, what's happening is that's getting too hot. I mean, I don't know how warm you like your showers, Das, right? But
not that warm.
Yeah, no, probably not that warm. It's enough to degrade that Teflon seal and eat at it. That from the thrusters overheating. That's not ideal. You don't want that to happen. So if you guys see on the screen there, that's a footage of Starliner undocking.
Yeah.
There's 4 kind of thruster blocks at, on the top, bottom, left, and right. You can see them outgassing there. Those are called doghouses. And the problem that they're running into is that too much heat is getting trapped in those doghouses. Basically, the duty cycle, what's called on those motors, is being exceeded, and too much heat is getting trapped inside of there, and it's heating up all the components. Because you're obviously not going to convect anything through there. There's no air.
Yep.
And how the motors work is a passive cooling system based off of what they're made out of. They radiate heat through black body radiation. Basically, they glow.
Yep.
Right. And if you can't radiate enough heat and you can't convect it, there's only conduction left. So components inside of that doghouse are going to start heat soaking. They're going to start absorbing all the heat, and that's going to start degrading things. That's what NASA's really worried about here. And that's, once again, that's why they, out of an abundance of caution, they put Barry and Sonny on a long duration on the ISS.
Is it fair? I got to ask, is it fair to say that NASA is really worried about it? Or is it fair to say there's another option that they're less worried about? Like, not that they're really worried about it, but they just don't have to worry about it as much if there's not people on board. Like, they weren't forced to put anybody aboard this. They had another way to get them home, which is sort of the entire plan with the multiple capsules able to get people to and from space, right?
Yeah, I think the way you were talking about it right before the NASA comms came on,
Yeah.
Garrett Reisman said, it's safe. You come down in it if you have to, but I wouldn't bet my hide on it, right? I'm paraphrasing, obviously, right?
He said he'd bet money it's going to come down safe, but he would only bet his life on it if he had to.
Yeah,
and they don't have to. There was no reason to bet anybody's life on it. They could just put them on a Dragon coming back down, and they could complete this test flight, which is what they're doing right now. But again, there's been so much, might I use the term, drama about this, right?
Yeah.
I feel like public sentiment in media coverage has sort of painted or colored some of the decisions that are made here, right? Because they don't have to risk anybody on it. So why would you? Right?
Yeah,
you have other options.
The way I've been describing it is that NASA and Boeing are 95% sure that this thing's going to come back down. Now, that sounds like a good number. That's not something you bet 2 astronauts' lives on. That's not a good idea. You have to be absolutely sure. And the data is what drives that. The problem here is that, you can't get hands on a service module that's going 27,500 kilometers an hour in space up there fully fueled. You can't get hands on it. So they can't tell you exactly what's wrong, right? They can only test on the ground and kind of figure it out from there.
Yep.
So there's that just tiny bit of uncertainty. And if it's one thing that I've learned from watching these so long, Das, like Murphy's Law will get you. Also, as a Kerbal player, Murphy's Law will get you. What can go wrong will go wrong.
I think that's mostly like the Kraken and floating point calculations. But
yeah, I don't think that happens in real life. But still, I mean, what can go wrong will go wrong. So why even play? Why even roll the dice? Don't risk it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yep. So that's the plan here, folks. We're listening in. You see these live views of mission control. Not even all the desks are filled. Like, they don't need all the desks filled, I guess, here. But bringing the capsule back down, we're going to be hanging out with you. We're going to be offering our honest opinions on what's going on here. Remember, we're NSF. We're enthusiast-driven media coverage here. We are not actual NASA, so we could tell you what we think about it. That's sort of what we do. I think that's why people hang out with us.
Nice.
You know? So
it's a good way to say that.
All right, so in just a minute, we don't want to miss this part because we should be coming up on a poll, and you'll know how it is. Like, we want to play the important audio to you. We want to try to not talk over it, but we're going to try and get this poll audio maybe in just a second, or maybe they've already said that they're good to go.
There could also be a situation where the poll will not be broadcasted, and they just broadcast the final decision.
They just tell us what the decision is.
Yeah.
Gosh, come on, like, give us the poll, NASA, Boeing, whoever. I'm gonna say NASA there, I guess.
But but that is also what we can confirm here. The poll was go, apparently. The poll was go per NASA.
Well, there you go. So sounds like they have all said that they are ready to do the deorbit burn. Remember, right now the capsule is just in orbit, and it would eventually come down due to just natural atmospheric drag. There's just a little bit of atmosphere up there. It'd take a long time to drag it down. But they are going to fire the thrusters and actually deorbit this thing. EJ, off the top of your head, how many meters per second of delta V? Like just north of 100?
That's the meters a second change. Per what we heard from the undocking from Rob Navius, it's a 59 meters a second deorbit burn that will change. That's what he said. But then he went on to say after that it's 150 meters a second velocity change, which I just got really confused by. But said 50. It's about 60 meters a second. What Starliner is basically going to do is it's not going to like deorbit and come straight down. What it does is lowers the perigee enough to where you're letting most of Earth's atmosphere, you're trying to spend a lot of time in the upper atmosphere here, and doing that, leaving, using that to slow you down more than the thrusters, right? I mean, that's what reentry is. You gotta, a human rated spacecraft's going to come in on a really shallow trajectory. So they're not even going to like deorbit. It's just lowering the perigee, or their lowest part of the orbit, to a point where they'll start scratching the atmosphere and it'll really start slowing them down. But what happens here is when you start dipping into the atmosphere, going as fast as they're going, 17,500 miles an hour, probably somewhere good ways north of that velocity. When you hit entry interface, you're going to start compressing air. You're going to get compression up on the front of the heat shield of this capsule, and that air is basically going to get stuck there, and the high pressure is, from the compression, is going to heat that air up to a point where it's going to ionize and create plasma. And that's what the ablative heat shield on board is for. The ablator heat shield's designed to burn and outgas and push that plasma away.
Yeah.
But it's not a big deorbit burn. They just give it a little nudge, and then the atmosphere will take over.
They're literally like tapping the brakes. I mean, if the change is around 100, just south of 100, just north of 100, whatever, right? Orbital velocity is north of what, like 75, 76, 7,700 meters per second. And the change to come back home is just 100 or so, right?
Yeah,
so they're literally
just
tapping the brakes. They're not slamming on the brakes to get down into the atmosphere. They just tap it, and that gets them down into that thicker atmosphere, and they let the atmosphere do the rest of the work for them.
That's right. The atmosphere and the ablative heat shield. Absolutely.
Good deal. All right, so we'll continue sharing updates and information with you. We're just past 10 o'clock Central Standard Time out there at Johnson. You can see on the screen the WB-57 flight there. And then here, this actually looks like it came over from Jonathan McDowell. I'm trying to hunt this down. It looks like there's all sorts of different information.
Okay. So
But
yeah, all right, 59-second burn. That was me mishearing what Rob Navias said. So it's a 59-second burn with about 130 meters a second delta V. There you go.
Gotcha.
That
so
also lines up with other places where that's been said. So that should have been these should be the correct numbers here.
Apologies, everybody. Yeah, misheard that on the flame trench. It got a little too spicy.
All good, and that's where you get that the time that they're going to do that, the amount of time they're going to fire the thrusters for just under 1 minute, about 59 seconds. Literally, again, just to tap the brakes, get it down into the atmosphere just a little bit. They just have to start skimming the surface, and as soon as they skim the surface, they're going to come on back home. But we're still roughly 10 minutes away from when that is supposed to happen.
And the funny thing is, once that happens, they're locked in here. Like that's what you alluded to at the beginning with then it's up to physics. Like once this deorbit burn is done, it's coming down in 43 minutes later, and we are gonna enjoy the ride from there. Not, and of course there will be some steps performed on the way here because what we also get is the service module separation, and then of course after entry interface. Phase where it re-enters, we will also get the forward heat shield jettison and the whole chute deployment. They have a lot of steps going down here that are between the orbit burn and a touchdown on White Sands, and that's going to be the interesting phase of like nailing all of these single small steps to get there.
Yep, you can see right now Starliner's just over the Indian Ocean, right there in the Maldives, pretty close at least, just to the north of it. It looks like. And they have quite a ways to go. It's going to dip all the way down there south of Australia and then start going on the northern leg of its trajectory out over the Pacific Ocean before they tap the brakes. Let's see here. So a little bit of an update. Like we just reported, they've pulled go for the deorbit burn, so they think they are all systems nominal for the deorbit burn, but some information coming in that during a post-undocking test, one of the 12 thrusters involved with the test failed to fire. Not during the undocking itself, but remember, they were putting it through the paces, just trying to grab as much information as they can, sort of maybe pushing the limits of these thrusters to see what they would do and how they would perform. And one of 12 thrusters in one of the tests they did had an issue, but because the thrusters are arranged in sets of 6, there's not an issue. That doesn't actually endanger anything currently. So I don't think that's unexpected, do y'all?
Go ahead, Adrian.
I mean, there's some redundancy built in here, and we have also seen in the past that especially like this one thruster shuts down thing has been a pattern for Starliner to happen. And to be fair, that's not only a Starliner thing. Like sometimes capsules shutting down or like spacecraft shutting down redundant thrusters, that can happen as long as you have the redundancy to back it up. And that has been the case here. You're still operating in your margin. So it's a curious thing. It's a thing that for sure Boeing and NASA will note. But as also noted by NASA here, as of right now, it doesn't impose any danger on the timeline here or on the operations. So I'm not particularly super worried about this.
Yeah, I imagine there's a balance here, right? Like, one, we want to run some tests. We want to see what these thrusters are going to do. On the other hand, I'd also like to get it home if I'm Boeing, right? And so I'm not going to say, oh, no, let's just fire the thrusters until they break so we can learn, because we also want to demonstrate that this thing can come down successfully. So some decisions being made there, I would bet, with the tests that they're going to run to get good data, but still get it home, right? Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks.
Yep, absolutely agree. And also this hot fire checkout should have happened a bit before NASA polled, like 1 to 2 hours before NASA polled for the final deorbit burn here. So they're probably part of this test was included in their polling there. So NASA is aware about this when they polled, and they are considering this when they targeted or polling. So
Yeah,
just to point it out, like this is not a surprise for NASA right now. They probably are very aware that this happened a few hours ago, and they're now considering this as part of their decision making.
Yep. So, real quick, here is what we will expect after the deorbit burn. Still minutes away from getting confirmation on whether or not that happened. But the landing out there at White Sands Missile Range, you can see it goes through and jettisons the heat shield. It doesn't need that once it gets down closer to the ground. It'll deploy the drogue chute, like the smaller chute that sort of helps stabilize and slow the craft down so that the main larger chutes can come on out. That's step 3 there, right? For the rotation handle release, Starliner actually looks like it's a little berry basket. I don't know, like a little basket with a little handle on top of it, right? Yep. And during one part, you see up there at 3 where it's sort of flying sideways, right? The chutes aren't coming straight from the top of the capsule. That is where the chutes are sort of attached to one side of the capsule, and then when that rotation handle releases, it allows the capsule to hang sort of straight down like you see in the next 0405 there, right? Oh, sorry, I actually said heat shield jettison. I should have said forward heat shield jettison was at the top of it there, but after they release that rotation handle, they have the main parachutes out, the capsule is hanging down, then they jettison the bottom heat shield. Actually, 2 different heat shields. The forward heat shield has to open up so they can let the parachutes out, right? It's on top, forward. And the base is the bottom part, the part that bears most of the brunt during reentry, right, EJ?
Yeah, that's the ablator one. The forward heat shield is not an ablative heat shield. It's
like an aeroshell.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot simpler thermal protection system. I do believe it's Nomex derived from the space shuttle, so it looks like those white blankets that you'd see on the top parts of the shuttle.
Yep, makes sense. So Starliner also has airbags on the bottom of it. It has those big chutes, but because it's not splashing down in water, remember the SpaceX Dragon capsule splashes down in the ocean. Starliner here is designed to land on land, or splash down in sand if you want to say it that way. But that will cushion the impact just a little bit to make it a little bit more comfortable and a little bit less harsh on the spacecraft and the occupants. Of course, here this evening, no occupants inside the spacecraft. Oh, look, airbags. I'm going to guess this is from a previous test.
That is from the previous uncrewed flight test,
which was just the OF. What did they call that one? OFT, right?
OFT2.
Yeah, OFT2.
Yeah,
All right.
If you look right there, you can see that there are some LRSI tiles that are derived from the space shuttle around the hatch and around the skirt of the where the heat shield would be. And then you have the blankets, the thermal blankets, the Nomex thermal blankets that were on the space shuttle. Now that top part that looks kind of naked up at the top of the capsule, that's what you were talking about. That's where that
the forward.
Yeah, exactly. Notice it's not there.
Yep.
Because this landed capsule jettisoned it. Go ahead.
The tiles, EJ's talking about the black tiles, so you can see them along the lower rim there, and then you see the door, like the little yellow bridge that goes to the door, and the window on the opposite side. Those are the tiles that you were talking about, right? The black parts.
Absolutely. Yep.
In the quilted part that looks cushiony soft, those are the blankets or the sort of quilted thermal protection system. A lot of people don't know, but if you go and see Atlantis or Discovery or one of the space shuttles, right? You look at it and you're like, is that padded on top? Is that like a soft blankety bit? Because they didn't need hard, rigid heat shields on the entire thing. They just had those on the bottom. And the top of this space shuttle had it literally looks soft. I've never touched it, but it looks like quilted, like it's got little pleats in it almost.
When I say blankets, I mean it.
Here looks like we've got a thermal camera from the landing site. We'll see how often we get this from NASA. Remember, we are sort of at NASA's whim here. We get whatever feeds they provide. We don't have access to all the raw cameras. So when they do stuff like this, and they say, yo, we're still calling this the crew flight test, even though there's no crew on board, This is what we are able to show y'all and share with you. We add our own value by commentating on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our voice is the value.
I would hope.
Our voice is the value. Well, there's 10,500 people watching us right now. So
wow.
I mean,
Yeah, thanks for that, everybody.
Thanks for staying up.
It's always cool. Yep, absolutely. It's certainly not the best time for like a prime time season right now.
Hold up, I'm gonna refresh and see how many thumbs up there are. Okay, all right, 1.3 thousand. About 10% of the people think that our commentary is valuable, or they're just confused as to what stream they're on.
I believe that.
That's probably probably accurate.
Which one is it? Did y'all just stumble onto the wrong stream, or...
Oh no.
Hey folks, if you're just joining us, we are NSF. We are not NASA. We are watching the return of Starliner here. No crew on board, using some feeds from NASA, answering questions and talking about the mission, but we're giving you our honest opinions about what's going on here. That is sort of what we do. Reading some chat too. VPool89, we love you too.
All right.
All right.
So WB-57 is over White Sands.
Hey, there you go. You ever been to White Sands, EJ?
I haven't been to White Sands, but I've been to the mountain range next door with you.
The mountain range next door, nice. You've been over to Spaceport America, but not over. You haven't been to like the Trinity site, right?
No, that's a bucket list thing. I don't know about you, Chad. I would do that. That'd
We
be great.
should do that one day.
Yeah.
The Trinity site actually borders one of the potential landing zones here. Of course, if you're watching and you don't know what the Trinity site is, it's the location on planet Earth where we detonated the first atomic bomb long ago, but you can go walk around there now. Like, you get more radiation from taking the flight to New Mexico than you get from standing around. But the Trinity site is sort of on one of the border areas around the landing zone there at White Sands. So anyways, you should just go check it out. I think it's a really interesting place to see, and you can be like, hey, that's where Starliner lands, over that way.
Just on a side note, New Mexico, that part of New Mexico is not a lot out there, but it's beautiful.
Oh,
High
it's so
desert.
nice.
Yeah,
Yep.
beautiful part of the country. If you've never been out there, go out there, guys. It's not to White Sands, not without permission.
Yeah,
But
drive around it.
go to
around the
cruises.
outside.
Go to cruises or Truth or Consequences. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Carlsbad,
part.
Roswell is over on the eastern part of the range
Yep.
there. Like, it's just good country out there.
Yep, beautiful.
Well, for a certain
And-
value of good country, there's not a lot of water or room for cows. Food for cows, I guess.
Yeah,
Anyways.
there you go. I was actually going to say, I'd assume a lot of people are here because of space. That night sky in New Mexico is not bad. Not bad. If there's no clouds, you can see everything.
Yep.
No light pollution.
Speaking of which, we may very well see some ground tracking shots, hopefully. Sounds like expectation from NASA is that they don't expect to have live cameras aboard the spacecraft. We don't expect to get a live feed from like inside the spacecraft or anything like that. But they do have multiple assets on the ground. And right there you can see the WB-57 doing the button hook trying to catch the pass. It shouldn't be catching anything except photons or maybe some whatever IR emits.
And Starliner in general doesn't have the capability to transmit video data for this flight. That was something they mentioned during the launch. That is something they want to include on future flights. But for this one, Starliner is not able to transmit basically video data during these phases.
Makes good sense. Maybe they can get a discount on Starlink because half their name is also Star. Like walking into the shop and you're like, yeah, my last name's Galloway. Your name's Galloway? Do I get a discount? That never works, by the way.
I'm surprised.
So we are standing by awaiting confirmation. It doesn't sound like we're getting a lot of live loops that we can share with you. It's more of a NASA does it and then provides a verbal status update of what some of their results are. I'm trying to control the message there a little bit, but we will continue to share the status. Again, that is a thermal camera of the staging area for the recovery teams out there at White Sands, it looks like.
And usually the first tracking we will receive is during this entry interface at some point, where the WB-57 will usually be able to track it somewhere. Like that's these very far distance shots that we sometimes get from the WB-57, where we even can see some interaction on the body of the capsule still.
Yep. All
So
right.
that's gonna be cool.
This is sort of the waiting mode where we are waiting. Oh, there's a view of the sky.
That's I mean that could that looks very similar to what might be, but I don't think that's the WB-57.
It doesn't
because
feel
they
like
usually-
it's moving. Like I'm not getting a 3D
Yeah.
effect on the clouds as if it's coming from a moving platform. I'd expect those clouds to be 3D a little bit as the plane flew. So that looked like it might have been a ground-based camera.
Also, usually the shots that we get from the WB-57 have this almost tracking grid on them.
For orbital
Yep.
maneuvering and
Like-
attitude control thrusters on
here we go.
Starliner's service module are now firing,
There we
slowing
go.
Starliner down as the capsule begins its journey back to Earth.
Tapping the brakes.
This is the very interesting moment now with the
Okay.
thrusters.
So, guys, if you look at the right-hand side of your screen, there's the bigger screen with the animation of Starliner on it. You look at the VGO on the top left corner. There's your change rate. That's telling you how much you have left to do on this planned burn. In this particular case, at this time, it's about 50 meters a second.
Yep.
They're slowing it down, and on the rates on the top right are showing the acceleration and angular momentum of the capsule. It's yaw, pitch, and roll, and then translation forces on top of that. So forward, back, up, down, left, right. They want to make sure that those rates stay right around zero, and the other thrusters compensate and basically keep the capsule pointed in the same direction.
That looks good.
Everything looks okay here.
So the
bit of-
body rates, right? There's not a
Yep.
lot of big numbers in the body rates, so the
That's
capsule
what you
isn't
want.
tumbling or anything like that. If you had a rate there, it would mean that the capsule was rotating or tumbling or something like
Yep.
that. And it looks like all the rates are basically zero. And then, like EJ said, the VGO up there, you can see that that's down to zero. So based on this telemetry, it looks
That looks
like
good.
the deorbit burn went through.
Good
That look-
burn confirmed
Yep.
by NASA.
That is a
Oh,
good
thank you.
burn.
Great.
Hey, folks,
That's
that
great.
is a big step.
Yeah,
That
that's,
is a very big step.
Yeah, I don't want to make the stream about like who was right or who was wrong, but I bet some people at Boeing are very relieved right now that this worked as they hoped, as they planned, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Yep.
All right, so we're not completely out of the woods yet. Remember, going to space is hard. There are other systems that still need to do their jobs. We still need that heat shield to come through, and we need the chutes to operate as expected. But from here on out, Starliner's coming down one way or the
Yep.
other. That deorbit burn has occurred. Looks
no
like
return.
it was, point of no return. At this point, they can't turn around and then pump the gas again to go back to
Nope.
orbit. They have tapped the brakes. They are going to make atmospheric entry here shortly, and it is coming on back down to New Mexico.
I mean, if you guys want an idea of speed here, this thing did its deorbit burn south of Australia, and in less than an hour, it's going to
Yep.
be in New Mexico. These are some crazy speeds to burn off here.
Point to
Yeah.
point, eat your heart out.
Yeah, there you go.
The graphic we had up on the screen there, that was the visibility graph. There we go. So if you are down there, Baja, Mexico, or we got El Paso. Looks like El Paso might be able to see it. The very corner of New Mexico, over to parts of southeastern Arizona. Not all the way up to Phoenix or anything like that, but if you've got clear skies and you're somewhere in that blue, teal, or green area, you should be able to see Starliner streaking back down across the sky with those during those numbers, I guess, during those times there on the screen. Those
Can
times.
I interrupt you here, Das?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we should now get confirmation any second that the service module has separated. That was planned for 10:20:46, and NASA just confirmed service module has separated, and they have
Alright.
good altitude for service module jettison.
Okay, good.
Sorry to interrupt there,
No,
but
no.
we just came in.
So same thing as before.
Rates still look good.
Look at the rates, very low. Capsule no longer has the service module. And remember, this was the big thing where they wanted Starliner to spend more time on station so they could work with the thrusters, because they've jettisoned a bunch of the thrusters that were having problems now. They're going to burn up in the atmosphere. They're going to end up in the, well, not end up in the Pacific. They're going to burn up over the Pacific, right? So this isn't the sort of thing where you can roll the truck into the garage and look at the injectors and see if they're clean or not, right?
You can't do that.
Your spark plugs are going to burn up over the Pacific, and you don't get to inspect them.
That's part of the reason why they chose to stay on orbit for such a long time.
Yep.
You know, utilize that time. Why come back down?
Absolutely.
You have no hardware.
They were at the station. They had plenty of room. They had plenty of consumables. They were never, oh gosh, we have to emergency send food or water or air or anything like that. Like, that's not the case. When Polaris Dawn flies, as soon as this weather clears up, Polaris Dawn's not going to have that luxury.
No.
Polaris Dawn is going to go to space, but because it's not going to the space station, it's got to come home. Dragon can only last on its own for so long. So if Polaris Dawn goes up there and something goes on, they have to come home. They cannot spend extra time in orbit. Oh, well, let's just stay for another couple weeks and work the problem. So really, for Starliner here, as designed, there was a lot of benefit because it went to the station, and the astronauts had that safe harbor. You've heard that term used over and over again there at the station. And quite frankly, Starliner can come home and they can stay up there at the hotel.
That's right.
Just seeing some people here being confused in chat, and I'll quickly address. The reorientation of Starliner was planned because it has changed into a reorientation for re-entry. So do not get confused because there was suddenly a roll and it suddenly changed. That was very much planned.
Yep. And there you can actually see the mouse on the screen as they drag the view around.
That's right. Yeah, the reason why they would reorient from that, guys, is you want to jettison that thing. Like, okay, so from this view that we're looking at with Starliner, you want to jettison left or right relative to that right-hand box that we're seeing. The reason why is if you jettison it forward or back, you're running the risk of it coming back and hitting you. If you're really good at Kerbal, you can do that, right? Sorry, I can't keep referencing it. But yeah, they jettison it off to the side, and then they reorient the capsule so the heat shield's going to take, well, the brunt because it has to.
Yep. You get two different trajectories there as they enter the atmospheric interface, right? So you don't want it to be in front of you, and then the heat or the service module slows down and bumps back into you or anything like that. You want them to have some separation so that they end up in two different trajectories, and that's actually why the Starliner capsule ends up in New Mexico, but the service module ends up burning up over the Pacific, right? That's why they sort of, or I guess that's how it ends up that way. Let's see here.
Rates are still looking good here.
Yep.
Everything looks all right.
Yep. Hey, real quick, I see some questions. I know that people are joining the stream all the time. This is Starliner, and it is heading back to New Mexico. So I'm curious, maybe not a lot of people who can see this, but where are y'all watching from this evening? And is there anybody underneath the path? Like, I would love to see some names in chat. If you're in El Paso, Texas, you're in White Sands. Not really in White Sands. You probably work for NASA then, or Boeing. You're there at Truth or Consequences. You're somewhere at, what's the next place down the road? Oh my gosh.
Cruces.
Cruces, thank you. Yes, you're at Las Cruces or something like that. Let us know where you're watching from, and I'm specifically looking for people. I see some Albuquerques in there. I don't know, Albuquerque should be able to see it if you look southwest. It depends on your skies, right? Southeast or just south.
There's a lot of, it's around the world, man.
Yep. Kyler, there's Kylo Manadas in Las Cruces checking in. Kyler, let us know if you see anything, please. Yep. I'm super curious if folks are going to be able to see this. If it's clear where you are, you should be able to see it with the naked eye. Well, I mean, if you're under the pass and you'll see it. Clear there. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it. It'll look like a candle streaking across the sky.
Yep.
I see a certain person mentioning here that he's watching from York, the People's Republic of Yorkshire. Can you guess who that is?
I don't think they're going to see the re-entry, let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's an Earth in the way.
As a German here, it's also going to be rather hard for me to see the re-entries in a way that I can see it. Something has gone terrible wrong.
Yep. Got a couple people here checking in from El Paso and Cruces saying it's currently cloudy around there. If you're around, go out and look outside. Like, get out there and look at the sky. What do you have to lose? you might see something really cool in the sky. If you even a hole in the cloud, right? You just need a hole, just a little bit. But people from all over the world hanging out here watching the return of Starliner as the WB-57 does a racetrack figure 8 in the sky above White Sands.
Yep. That's an 8, I think.
It could be an infinity, depending on how you look at it.
That's
Nice.
true.
I'm being reminded here, if you do get a photo or a video of this, if you're in a place with clear skies, somewhere in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and you happen to see it, put it on social media if you do that sort of stuff, and tag us. We're just at NASASpaceflight over on X. We're on Facebook. We're in all the different places, right? But if you catch something, tag us. And we'll try to find those here after it comes down. And if we catch any of them, we might try to share them here on the stream. But just what do you have to lose, right? If you're in the area, go outside and have a look at the sky. Still coming up in a little bit here.
And you see now the altitude dropping very rapidly. You can see it on the left side, top left. In the middle is the altitude.
Now they actually
5,000 feet.
Yeah. It's like set up like gauges with the scrolling gauge.
It's a ticker.
Yep.
Ticker tape.
Neat.
And it's in meters, I think. And
yeah,
it's meters.
Yeah.
And it's 380, so 380 kilometers at this point, 382 kilometers of altitude. And it's
hard to
dropping
see a decimal
fast.
point there. Yeah.
There, yeah, now it's 380.
Okay.
Flat.
Oh yeah, it does tick over. How cool is that?
Yep, but that's the altitude. That's the altitude as it goes down. And of course, every single meter they lose here at some and will increase drag because you get more atmosphere, and more drag means you slow down faster. And once you slow down faster, you go even lower, etc. Before, and yeah,
I'm going to say this again. There's some folks in chat that watch us that are longtime viewers. You see the little colored planets next to their name because they're around all the time. So a lot of times we'll say stuff and they're like, yeah, we know, because they're here all the time. They're super fans, enthusiasts, right? But for folks that don't know, the capsule here is going to use the air to slow down, right? Out there in space, there's not very much. There's just a teeny tiny bit of atmosphere. It slows it down eventually, but not very quickly. They tap the brakes. And they're getting down as they lose altitude. They're sort of coming down the mountain. And if you've ever been up on top of a mountain, you have trouble breathing, right? You're like, oh, geez, not enough oxygen. I can't breathe. I'm breathing hard or whatever. The air is less dense on top of that mountain. Well, the higher you go, the less dense the air is. Up there at space station altitude, there's technically air, but it's super not dense at all. You're not going to be able to breathe it. Your lungs would explode if you tried to do that.
Yeah,
that doesn't work that way.
Do that.
Right? But as it comes down, the closer it gets to the ground, Starliner is basically coming down the mountain. And you as a human, you experience that as, oh, it's easier for me to breathe, right? The atmosphere is denser. I can get more oxygen. I don't have to breathe as hard as I come down the mountain. Starliner experiences that as deceleration, because it has to plow through more and more air. Like there's more air, I'm going to say molecules and get in trouble for it. There's just more air in the way, and Starliner has to push it out of the way. And the denser that air gets, the more it slows down. So it's sort of like a positive feedback loop. Slows down, goes lower, air gets denser, slows it down more, goes lower, air gets denser, slows it down more. Again, it just took a little thruster firing to tap the brakes, and they're letting the atmosphere do the rest of the work for them until they're coming right down on White Sands, and then they put out the drogues and chutes and stuff for the nice landing. Is the plan.
Dr. Jonathan McDowell, by the way, is estimating that the Starliner is now with a negative perigee, with a minus 20 kilometer times 418 kilometers orbit.
Yep.
So the lowest point of the orbit would be now, well, technically below the Earth's surface, but of course that means it's no longer like orbital. It would be, it's going down.
It's coming home.
Yeah, there's no way to stop this at this point.
There you go.
But it's
Kevin, you should post a reply.
Yeah, it says
Say
it right
thank you
there.
or something.
Yeah, it says post your reply. Oh, thank you.
Nice. It's perfect.
That's the live and interactive content that people hope for.
Yeah, it is right there. Hey, folks, if you're new to our channel, if you don't know who we are, we love this. We love sharing it with you. we're going to do things. We're a little bit looser tonight because there are no crew on board, right? This is a crew capsule, but there are no human beings on board. If there were human beings on board, there'd be a little bit more serious note in our voices. But tonight, watching Starliner come down, we're glad y'all are joining us. This is sort of what we do. You know how to get back to the channel. If you like hanging out with people like this, you know the little buttons to click on YouTube or whatever. Like, just click the buttons. You can find your way back. And the latest report here, about 14 minutes to entry interface per an update from NASA. My name is not Josh Barrett. That's just what they're putting on the stream. My name is John, actually. Just so we're not confused. I've got EJ with me. EJ.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm
Friday
good.
night, man.
Yeah,
Ready
it's
for a capsule
Friday
to come
night.
home.
Friday night.
Yeah.
I also don't work for Boeing. That's correct. Yeah, the back channel is reminding me that I don't work for Boeing. And Adrian is here as well. Adrian, how you doing?
Doing good. I don't think I can claim anymore that it's Friday night. I would stretch that definition in here a bit. It's very much early Saturday morning in Germany.
We're from all over the world. I'm sitting in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. EJ, you're up in Boston, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. And Adrian is all the way across the pond in Germany.
Yeah, Dorsten, if you're curious about that.
I figured I'd let you pronounce it. I wasn't going to give it a try. That was not that hard, though. But
no, it's for German. It's quite easy.
Yeah, we're all over the world, sharing the experience with you. I'm reading chat. EJ, I know you're reading chat. Are we on Twitch too, EJ?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're on Twitch. Hey, what's up, Twitch?
There you go.
Yeah. But coming up here, just over 10 minutes when it really gets to entry interface. Now, entry interface, I mean, the atmosphere is a gradient, right?
Yep.
EJ, is there like a specific point where they say, oh yeah, entry interface, this is this altitude or time? Like, what does that mean?
So, entry interface is really where the air is really going to start putting a lot of decelerated force on the capsule. Like you said, the atmosphere is a gradient. So even Starliner up there, it's not flying through atmosphere that's incredibly thick. Like it's like what you were saying before, where Starliner is right now. You wouldn't take your helmet off. That's not a good idea. You would suffocate instantly. But because Starliner is traveling so ridiculously fast, even though there's a very low pressure and there's not a lot of air to get in the way, it's still, the air hitting that thing is still causing a perturbing force. It's still mass hitting mass, right? So the air is slowing down Starliner. That's really the point where the air really starts to decelerate you. That's like generally entry interface. I mean, it depends on your trajectory where that happens. That's like the shuttle would have EI at a different place than Starliner or Dragon or anything else. Yes, shuttle mentioned. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I know you're waiting for it.
Bingo.
Yep. Chris out there is going, what? You know. So entry interface is really where the atmosphere really starts to perturb and decelerate the capsule.
Gotcha. Like where there's enough of an effect of the atmosphere to really start counting the atmosphere on shorter time scales. It's not like, oh, you orbit here for a half a day or a long number of hours or something like that, where the atmosphere is affecting you, but it takes a long time because the effect is very small. This is where you start getting smaller time scales, seconds and minutes. You can see the effects of the atmosphere over those smaller clock increments or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the what you see on the screen right there, if you look at VGO, top left corner, the acceleration rates right there. See how they're not much? They're in the thousandth of the decimal place. Starliner really isn't. It's hitting some air, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot right now. It is causing some decelerated force, but it's really not a lot. We're not at entry interface yet. Those rate numbers will start going bananas, particularly on Starliner's long axis. You'll really start to see it. You'll know. It'll really start to decelerate.
Yep. So that's what we're sort of. I was looking this up. I'm not sure if I can use the Orbiter Wiki as a source for entry interface, if there's any Orbiter fans in the house. But apparently for shuttle, it was around 400,000 feet.
Freedom units.
According to the shuttle manual here, the shuttle crew operations manual, it was around 400,000 feet, which is about what 121 kilometers where they define entry interface. So I need to make sure. I don't know that that's for Starliner, but again, I'm citing my source. Apparently, it's the Shuttle Crew Operations Manual as referenced by the Orbiter Wiki. Good times.
Yep.
And reference, but it wasn't. But it's two different places that I was looking to make sure I wasn't reading something somebody just made up and put on a wiki somewhere.
You can also, by the way, very good see there on these pictures that we are getting right now that it's not like NASA and Boeing are hiding cameras from you, because these people don't have them on their screen either. It's they're just not there. That's always more interesting for me, because I'm like looking at their screen like, nope, no cameras. They are also just looking at data.
Yep.
Also, I don't see an NSF stream in that room right now. That's
well, the gentleman in the bottom left-hand corner was the dude that was watching when Starliner launched. That's Neil Nagata. He was watching us.
It's like a scavenger hunt. We have so many different streams. I mean, we do these streams, but we also have 24/7 streams. So anytime we see cameras looking into areas like that, we look for our streams on monitors, and we have caught them on more than occasions than you might guess. They're all over the wall at SpaceX facilities. Like they're building Raptor engines, and in the background there's Starbase Live, our 24/7 Starbase stream. So that's
very strange in a good way, but
always good fun.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's us. Oh,
All right. Again, the thermal views here. There's a helicopter there too.
All right.
So these are NOTAMs, it looks like, out there in the Pacific. And if I'm EJ, help me out here. There are two of them. And remember how we said the service module separates from the capsule, and then they get a little separation?
Yep.
Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, that seems to be what we're looking at here. What I'm getting a little confused by is the reentry trajectory is not lined. Lined up with that.
There has been some confusion on the socials a bit about this. It could have been that there might be some wrong published maps by certain authorities floating around.
There you go.
Way off.
because that NOTAM doesn't line up with the track, with like the track of the capsule, and that would be interesting. There's the corrected version, which makes way more sense, because the box where it could go down lines up with the track where it actually goes along.
Goes over.
You see how it's trapezoidal, like to the northwest side of that that temporary flight restriction. It's wider. That's where the service module is going to come down. See how that's off plane to where the capsule's trajectory? That's what I mean. They turn the capsule 90 degrees to one side, dump the service module, and then turn Starliner
module. Yeah.
Yep. They dumped it that way, and then they turn the capsule right around to get it to entry interface, which we should be seeing here very soon.
So if anybody's out there in the Pacific Ocean in that box, you shouldn't be. Don't take time to type it into chat. Just turn southeast or northwest and floor it, or boat it. Put the throttle forward. I don't know. Ring the engine room. Whatever you do on a boat, and get out of there. Of course, I'm kidding. There shouldn't be anybody out there.
All engines ahead flank.
Thank you. And best possible speed, or swim very fast. Yes,
we are very close right now for Starliner crossing the 200 kilometers mark. You can see it there in the middle.
In altitude?
207 kilometers at altitude.
There you go.
Okay. So, all right. On the screen, we got a lot more numbers here. We'll start with GMT. That's pretty straightforward. That's the time. It's Greenwich Mean Time here. And then the site is White Sands Space Harbor, WSSH.
Nice.
Latitude and longitude, pretty straightforward stuff. You have your ground altimeter, altitude above ground, which is just now gone below 200,000 meters, and they took the rest of them off. I think ground range so it was uprange distance. So how far it is from the landing site, and then your azimuth, which is the direction of flight when you're in atmosphere correlated to the magnetic compass. So it's heading 223.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Gotcha.
Folks, we're up to almost 16,000 people hanging out with us on a Friday night. It's still Friday night here on the East Coast. It'll be Friday night for another couple hours. Starliner, I guess Mountain Time it'll be. But thanks for hanging out with us, y'all, as we continue our live commentary and explanations as to what is going on with Starliner.
Yep.
Remember, It's uncrewed. There are no human beings aboard Starliner right now.
Mhm.
This track is not Starliner. Starliner is not doing donuts over White Sands or New Mexico. This is the WB-57 camera plane that's out there to catch it sort of on station. But that is what we're doing, hanging out here, waiting for entry interface when the atmosphere really starts to take a hold of that capsule and slow it down to bring it back to the surface of the Earth.
This is also not a preparation scene for the next Mad Max movie. That is the recovery crew.
Nice.
That is getting
What?
ready to. Do you know that scene from Mad Max when they all
Oh, I do.
drive? Yeah, that. It looks like they're preparing that scene right now, but no.
Did you just do a movie reference?
Yeah, right. What day is
you?
it? This is crazy.
When's the last time you slept, man?
Irrelevant. Ah, my God, irrelevant question. Next one.
Okay. All right. Okay, got you.
The last time I slept, well, I don't know. Anyway.
Okay. So, all right, guys, Starliner's starting to, it's past entry interface and it's starting to skirt the upper parts of the atmosphere. This is where the heating is going to be the most. You're going to get the highest amount of heating because you have low pressure here and the capsule is going the fastest, but the air, it's slowing it down a little bit, but the forces of gravity are still pulling her in. Right? So this is where the heating is going to get the hottest. Now, keep in mind, peak heating doesn't exactly mean like highest dynamic pressure on the heat shield. Peak heating happens at a much higher altitude because of the atmospheric gradient that Das was talking about. So Starliner should be going through peak heating somewhere around now. Maybe a little bit later. Like, obviously, we don't have the telemetry. If I had the telemetry in front of me, I'd be able to tell you. But I'm seeing what you're seeing here. I see a nice, looks like a Kenworth over there and a helicopter and some trucks. Pretty cool.
Some trucks. Kenworth got a helicopter there too.
Yeah, it's a helicopter.
And right after entry interface, we should also probably talk about the fact that there will be a blackout period. And that blackout period is usual for these re-entries because there's plasma building and there's it's not that easy to communicate with these vehicles anymore. They are basically in a storm of plasma and it makes it very hard to communicate with them. So there will be a period of 4 minutes and 31 seconds, that's at least the estimate by Boeing, where they will not be able to communicate with Starliner. That's expected.
We'll get telemetry from it.
Yeah, they don't have any. Sorry, I shouldn't have said communicate.
No, it's fine. It's just.
Yep, I understand. It's like they will not get any telemetry from it in that period, and they expected to acquire it again at 32.9 miles in 4 minutes and 31 seconds after losing it. Of course, this is all estimates. They could be sometimes these go a bit longer, sometimes it takes just a little bit longer to get telemetry again. That can happen. And don't panic if they take 10 seconds.
Yeah. It's literally like a plasma shield. The bird dudes from Halo and they have the plasma shields that you have to anyways, whatever. It's literally that's a thing. It's a plasma shield except somebody has to be attacking you with radio waves. It's not a very useful plasma shield. It actually is sort of a problem for us to get signals, RF radio frequency communications through. So some of the tricks that a spacecraft might use is to look away from the plasma. The plasma sort of builds up in front and then forms a tail behind it. But if you have a communications, I guess you could say site, or a communications relay behind you, you can actually try to look out the back of your trail and continue to maintain some communications there. Recently, some spacecraft have done that, bringing us some views during reentry. But not on this one.
No. Yeah, what's causing the radio disruption is the air getting compressed up against the heat shield. You're going to get what's called compression heating. That compression heating is the compressing of the air molecules that Starliner is quite literally running into is actually going to cause ionization. And when you take these air molecules and they ionize, it turns to plasma. And that basically creates a wake. Now, visually, it kind of looks like if you picture a ship going over the water, it leaves a wake off to the sides. The plasma is kind of like that, but obviously water is not plasma, right? But it leaves a wake similar to that. And that wake
acts
does
as
have
a fluid. It can be modeled sort of as a fluid within those parameters, right?
Exactly.
We have confirmation of entry interface.
Here we go.
So it's crossed under that specific altitude where the aerodynamic forces really start to have a measurable effect.
Correct.
So Starliner's coming home, y'all.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's coming to White Sands. It's coming home to the United States. You know what I mean? It's not like landing in the building where it was built. That's not how that works.
And we are about a bit more than 30 seconds away from the beginning of... a minute away from the beginning of the blackout.
Yeah. I wish we had access to the telemetry screen full time. Like, just let us see the telemetry. This is a great shot of the
You don't want to see the trailer?
Trailer, I guess.
I mean, it's a great
I'd like
shot.
to see the numbers.
Yeah, like, honestly, it would be really cool if we had that like as a clean feed. Just give us these numbers.
I mean,
some serious lens flare.
It's a nice dually in front of the trailer. It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure someone appreciates it. I do, but I would like telemetry. Yeah, right.
little windy. Look at the thing blowing there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a flag or a banner or a windsock or what that is, but you can see some motion on the screen illustrating the wind out there in New Mexico.
The pixel is moving next to the other pixel there.
It's that waving pixel behind all the starbursts.
Yes. Yep.
There we go. Confirmation from Boeing Space.
A tweet from Boeing. A tweet, a post, whatever, from Boeing. So communications with the spacecraft will be interrupted for around 4 minutes. That's what the squiggly line means during re-entry. All right. It's getting real. We're counting down to the your estimated touchdown. That NET clock in the upper left-hand corner is the estimated touchdown. Don't expect it to be exact to the second, but that is what we are waiting for. We're going to see Starliner come out the other side of this, or not, in just a few minutes, and it should be on the ground in no earlier than I'm trying to think if there's situations where it could actually be on the ground earlier than 12 minutes, but we're not going to go there.
Nope, there are situations. Let's not discuss them.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think it's important to mention that in the post or the pre-flight or the pre-entry landing conference that NASA had, they had very high confidence in every other system. It's just those thrusters were the real funny going on there. So, I'm not trying to put bad juju on this, but the heat shield has worked every time.
Yeah, the thrusters were the risk they didn't have to take. Like, they didn't completely understand what was going on with them. They had lots of good ideas, lots of interesting, lots of intelligent people working on it. I'm sure they're interesting people as well, but they just didn't have to take the risk. Like, why take the risk if you don't have to? Literally why we have multiple capsules. It's why we don't just roll up to one company's door and give them wheelbarrows filled with money and say, make us a space capsule. We want more than one way to get into space. And that is good. It's a good thing if we can have more than one way to get into space, even though the road's bumpy. I mean, hey, space is not easy.
I often talk about space flight. It's like playing Tetris. You never really win. You just kind of get better at it over time.
You just get better at it. Nice.
But in order to stay getting better at it, you got to keep doing it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad some people get better at Tetris over time. It's always a miracle for me how people can play that game fast. I'm so bad.
Yep.
By the way, quickly mention here as well that we also, of course, will be watching the parachutes very closely.
Yes.
Because while they were not a concern item for this flight, parachutes have been a watch item for Starliner in the past. We had
parachutes are a watch item for almost every capsule that uses parachutes.
Parachutes are hard, should be assured. Like, parachutes are not as trivial as you would imagine. They are so... There's so many details about them, and there's so much concern about them, because you're basically packing up your parachutes months before you need them, and from there on out, you need to make sure they're not tangling, they're not, like, having any issues, and you cannot really control them anymore. They're just there. And there, speaking of things that are there, I think that's a track of Starliner.
That is a very straight line.
Yeah, I'm impressed. That makes me very fast, very happy.
Look at this. I like all the camera telemetry on the screen here.
Yep.
Oh, that's excellent.
But something's got a hold of it. One thin line here. Very straight. This would be shot from Should we say it's the northwest if it's going this way?
Is that look at that. Is that...
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful tree right there.
Was that the international? Was that a feed from the International Space Station?
That's the ISS because you could see the country in the backside.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's not a tree. Dude, that's not a tree. That's lights from the ground.
That's lights from the city.
Oh, my goodness.
Here you go. All right.
That's the WB-57 that you just saw there.
So we're going to have a lot of different views here. One was from the International Space Station.
That's great.
We've got some ground cameras. We've got WB-57, the airborne camera platform.
There's the plasma. You can see it, the red glow.
Yep.
Look
seen
at
the
that.
shock off the sides of the capsule there.
This is right now it's slowing down so fast right now.
Yep.
Like it's you cannot break that fast basically. It's so heavy.
Just remember, it's like I was saying, peak heating happens very early in the reentry, but the dynamic pressure that gets pushed on this thing, the max Q for entry is not necessarily correlated to peak heating.
Yep.
Because of the atmospheric pressure gradient. So this thing is going through some maneuvers right now.
Look at that. Now on the visible, you can see the trail behind it.
Fantastic.
That's like based on other launches, this should be WB-57 because usually it looks like this.
Yeah, the tracking indication showing how quick it's moving and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And look at that. You can see the trail behind it. Now, part of that is actually going to be heat shield because it's intended to do that. Like the heat shield is supposed to ablate away, right, EJ?
Starliner is confirmed out of blackout. I'm sorry. Go ahead, GJ.
No, go ahead. It's out of blackout.
No. That's great.
That's good. That means they have reacquired telemetry after the plasma phase, which means it reached there. That's good.
Awesome.
It's still working as intended.
Yep, the transmitters are still transmitting telemetry and that sort of stuff. Look at that. If you haven't stepped outside, if you were in those areas and you're not looking up, just give it a look because that is what is happening in the sky above southern Arizona and New Mexico right now. Starliner blazing a trail through the atmosphere on its way back home.
27 miles altitude.
So, chat, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at the tail that this thing has, you're getting some interruptions in the tail. If I'm looking at that right, that looks like RCS interaction with the bow shock and the shear layer on the capsule. You kind of see the tail is kind of it was like breaking up for a second and coming back. That I'm pretty sure that's the RCS interacting with the 12 thrusters on board Starliner interacting with the trail, the plasma trail.
And we've got some clouds here, but you can see it sort of shining through the clouds in places.
Come on, baby.
Yep, they are now visually seen from the ground in New Mexico.
Look at the speed. Like when we say this with rocket launches, when there are a little bit of clouds, but you can see the rocket moving through the clouds, it gives you a sense of speed, how fast that thing is going, how much energy it has. Yeah, it gives you that context, right?
It's like a star coming down.
Look at what Starliner. I mean,
no, Sawyer isn't here. We don't need to do that.
Yep. He will be smiling right now. He always.
Yep. From somewhere, he's like, yes.
Yep. So continuing down, should be on the ground in just over 5 minutes, just under 6 minutes, I should probably say.
We were getting very close here too. So the next steps will be actually the forward heat shield jettison will be in just a minute from now, and after that we are entering a phase of very rapid events because we have the drone chute deploy, and then just a minute later the main chute deploy, and then the rotational handle release and the back heat shield jettison.
Yep.
So we are entering a phase of like every 30 seconds something is happening.
Yep. Some of the artifacts you're seeing on the screen are camera lens artifacts here, folks. The sort of circles that you're seeing are just the way that this lens is capturing this. And see how it moves around the different sides like it's radiating out? That's just an artifact of the capture system here. I do not believe that's what it would look like with the naked eye.
I mean, keep in mind, this camera is imaging this from 34,253 feet. This is a camera that's built in on a PTZ on the nose cone of a WB-57 aircraft, guys. So, I mean, this is pretty good for being tracked from an airplane.
Yep. I'm looking for context, stars or something moving in the background. It really looks like it's sort of coming down. It was streaking across the sky before, but see, there you go, context. It's sort of going
Heat shield
down.
jettison should be any second now.
There's
and
drogues.
Drogues.
There we go. Shell jettison right there.
Yeah. Man, that thing is moving.
Perfect.
And we should get mains.
See how it's hanging a little sideways?
Yep.
We should get mains in a bit.
Come on, baby.
It's going good so far. I see 2 drogues.
Yep. Look at that motion. Now, the plane is way higher than the capsule now. It looks scary, but just remember, this is looking down at the capsule from above with the ground moving in the... Is that the ground? I thought I saw a mountain in the background, but maybe I was wrong.
It's ground. It looks like clouds now.
Yeah. I started to talk about that. And
so, guys, what these chutes are doing is these drogue chutes are designed to deploy at a higher speed, and they're designed to slow the capsule down only so much so you get to a speed where it's good to safely deploy the main chutes.
Yep. The main chutes are so big and create so much drag, you can't just put them out when you're going full speed, right?
You're putting incredible tension on the parachute rigging if you do that. That's why you need drogues.
Yep, you got it. I'm really wondering if I was seeing grounded. It looks like we're looking at it from above. I just don't know. There's clouds in the foreground, and you know something, I'm gonna need to look at it again.
So we should get mains now.
All right.
But there might be.
That looks like a road.
That look like mains.
Those are mains, 3 of them.
Yep. 3 unfurled.
Inflated. Left one is taking a bit of time.
Yeah.
That looks like 3 mains.
Get them all.
Oh, perfect.
Fully deployed?
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
Look at that.
Oh, beautiful.
Now watch for Starliner. See how it's hanging at a little bit of an angle there? Watch for Starliner to release the tilt clamp, whichever one the name of that thing was, and it should hang straight down. Rotation handle. Thank you, Adrian.
No problem.
Looky there.
Now it's tough to see in IR, guys, but the 3 chutes would have 3 different patterns on them. We can't see it because of the infrared, but there's the handle.
It bounced a bit, but that's what we expected.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And now it's sort of hanging straight down instead of at that angle. There goes the heat shield. Wow.
Yep.
Look at that.
And next up in 30 seconds is airbag inflation.
All right.
Okay, it starts. It starts already. Look at that.
You can see the airbags on the bottom. Yep. Was wondering if that's a hot spot or something. See the side there? How there's a little artifact?
Yep.
I think we might be just a bit ahead of the initial timeline.
Look at this.
Tad earlier than expected.
Beautiful.
No kidding.
That's great. I'm so happy.
I wanted to see how close our clock was. We took our clock off. That's probably for the best. We did say that it wasn't going to be exact.
But it's still funny now to see. Like, we treat it as funny.
It goes away.
We're confusing the producer. But that's good. That's what we wanted to see. Three wonderful mains here and Starliner below that.
Yep.
Good airbags confirmed.
Excellent.
Great.
Everything that we can see and all the callouts NASA have made, this doesn't mean, they're going to come back and say one day, we had this one issue, but it worked out in the fine. But everything that we can observe here, currently looking good. Drogues came out, mains came out, heat shield dropped away, all looked clean from our perspective. But, of course, they'll be analyzing all the detailed data and get that info. Well, I say get the information to us. They should get the information to us at some point. There's a press conference coming up about an hour after touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, there is.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
But that looks really, really promising.
So many pixels, NASA.
There's a road.
Oh, no.
I've streamed from out there, all right? Like, I can...
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Can I come help?
We would be open to help, right?
Technically, I haven't streamed from this side of the mountain range, so, we can figure it out, though.
I love that we have to specify mountain range, though. Like which side of the mountain range.
Which side of the mountain range.
And we are very, very close to the ground.
What's the clock say?
Yeah, let's
we
see
ask?
how accurate it was.
No, this is our clock for our purposes. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to see it again, but I'm very curious. Oh, we're
it's
plus.
even later.
We're plus.
Plus.
There you go. Main's deflated. Got a little puff of dust. Airbags cushioning the landing there.
Tango Delta.
Starliner has touched down out there at White Sands in New Mexico after its extended stay at the International Space Station.
And from what we can tell, that worked well.
It really did look like it from an outside observer listening to the NASA announcements, watching what we were able to see here on the video. It really did look like it's not Stuckliner. It's back home. It's down here.
One of the chutes is getting caught in the wind dust.
Yeah, I saw that.
See that? Oh, there it
Waiting
goes.
for it to collapse, yeah.
Right. It's great. Just great. Good job. Great job. That's amazing.
Man, now, EJ, the astronauts are stuck on the space station until SpaceX can get up there and get them home.
Right.
I love that even I love that even Boeing has problems filming objects because there's a bush in the way.
Technically, the astronauts, Butch and Sonny, are stuck on the space station until SpaceX can get a capsule up there to bring them back down.
I mean,
come on, SpaceX.
Surely that's what everybody will report.
Yeah, right.
Us. Surely.
Some wayward rogues.
Wayward drogues.
They're on their mission.
If you pick up one of those in like Timbuktu or something, do you get to keep it? Like put it on your wall?
That's funny. I love that they tracked them.
They look like jellyfish. So
yep, this is all great data, great entry, descent, and landing data. Even the drogues, how far they blew off course, what were the winds. This is all stuff that's useful information.
Yep,
it's all useful. Every part of this should be cataloged, and I'm sure Boeing is doing it. That's why the WV-57 has eyes on them.
Yep,
sure the wind's blowing them a little downrange, but.
And EJ, Adrian, some information here. Yes, of course, they could go on Crew 8 if there's an emergency, just like they could have gone on Starliner if there was an emergency. Thanks for pointing that out. Again, folks, poking a little fun there. There is a lot of information that still has to come in. How is the environment inside the capsule on the way down? Did everything work the way that it was supposed to? We're commenting based on what we've been able to see so far. The capsule seemingly nominally touching down there at White Sands. Does it have a hole in it? Does it have atmosphere in it? Well, that's what spacesuits are for, actually. But again, having a little bit of fun with it. Glad to see Starliner down on the ground.
Yep, it's great. I mean, that shows that NASA and Boeing didn't kind of see eye to eye on bringing people back on this, but Boeing was confident in their design and they saw it through.
Yeah,
they said they were confident in the design and they were right. That's pretty cool. Good on them.
Yeah,
and this doesn't mean, because I already see people saying like, "Oh, NASA made the wrong decision." This doesn't mean the decision of NASA to do like they did it was wrong.
You know something. Those are going to be the headlines. Scott Manley. We like Scott. Scott's on the stream sometimes, and Scott said, "Oh yeah, now instead of stuck, they're going to be NASA was cowards. NASA didn't have the guts to send him home on the capsule. Like if the narrative turns that way, it's just going to disgust me."
Yeah, never call people cowards. That's just want to protect people. Like don't do that.
They didn't have to take the risk. There were some things that weren't entirely understood. Engineering, run, test, review data, a long time reviewing data, and they just didn't have to take the risk. It wasn't a requirement. It wasn't an emergency. And so they used the resources that they had, multiple space capsules, because that's literally how they designed the program, redundant, dissimilar access to space. That's why we did it. And they made the decision because they just didn't have to take a risk. But man, I'm surprised it's not at Roswell. It looks like a UFO touchdown.
Take me to
Oh no, that really looks...
It looks like a UFO.
It perfectly looks like that. That could have been like a bad amateur film. Like
to make it shake a little bit. Oh, look at the engines on the truck, EJ.
Yeah, baby.
Look, Highway 4 is open. They're returning to the pad. Wait.
Yeah. No, no,
Nice.
no.
Obviously, we did have really a great show. We were able to see the cameras that you were watching too from the WB-57, from the Cessna, from the International Space Station. But
Leah, can I
being here on
interrupt
the
you?
ground, yes.
Concur. It's been a really amazing day.
We were hearing a bit from Space to Ground there, but I think they've concluded, unfortunately. We'll see if we can get a recording of that for folks listening at home. But Leah, go ahead with your update.
Just one that he's got one more hour here.
We're listening in, folks. We're if there's
his birthday here.
Yeah, and that's what counts.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was a good landing. It's pretty awesome.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Somebody's birthday?
You guys are
Happy birthday, I guess.
You are the best.
Thank you.
Sonny Williams there offering a slightly early happy birthday to Flight Director Rick Hempfling. He will be celebrating his birthday on September 7th, but technically in Houston, we're still a little less than an hour away from that. They are, of course, already on September 7th at the International Space Station. But Lee?
All right. I want to view the capsule back again because super chat from Michael Rivera saying this is where you wait for the Kerbals to climb out and do the green goo experiment.
Yes, you got to collect that science, buddy.
Surface sample, get the temperature off the side, like get all the different science. There it is.
Don't forget to put the flag there.
Put the flag.
Got to plant the flag. It's important.
Yeah,
I'm
fall
sure
on
they
your
will.
face when you get off the ladder. Like,
actually, they per the last recovery, if I'm remembering correctly, they do fly the flag from the little yellow cart that they use to get in to open the hatch.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure they do.
See, I'm wondering if they're going to give us a feed like walking up to the thing. There's some safing to do, make sure the area is okay, like sniffers and sensors and stuff, right? But I'm wondering if somebody out there has a camera with a pack that'll transmit us something.
I hope so.
If not, we would totally volunteer for the next time. I'm just saying.
Alex in the back channel says deploy the Starlink antenna to transmit the science. Get the science points.
That's too real. Yeah, there's a comment from Rook.
Yeah, Jared Isaacman there. We'll be flying to space on Polaris Dawn. Coming up as soon as the weather lets them do that.
Yep. It's not going to stop the exciting space missions right now.
Yeah. I think it was responding to a tweet on our main account there. That's how we caught that one.
Nice.
Neat. All right. Chat, what do y'all think? All right. I caught the super chat there. I didn't want to miss that. What do y'all think about... Has anybody's opinion of Starliner changed yet? I'm curious.
I mean, I can't speak for chat, but I said on a prior flame trench, I think it's going to come down just fine. It really is. You don't encounter that problem with the thrusters and not just sit there and be like, oh, the thrusters might overheat, whatever. No, you'd be preemptive about it and change it. And look, they did, and they got a good capsule. Calypso's back down on the ground.
I have to say,
though, a lot of no's. That's
yeah, it is a lot of no's. I mean, you can
wow.
You can see who's sort of like thinks about it emotionally versus looks at the facts that are on the screen, right? Like that's the delineation you sort of get there.
No, Das, they were very informed already, and like they didn't change their opinion because they were like, oh, I always thought it would go this well, like this. That's why they didn't change it. Ha!
Oh, is this the end of the NASA coverage?
Oh, no way.
And it's either the end of the NASA coverage or they like to show their...
Oh, here's the WB-57 circling the landing zone now.
All right, so guys, I have a surprise. We asked our community to deliver, and our community has delivered.
Oh, do we get some shots or something?
We did get some shots.
Nice.
Really?
I'm going to do this a little unprofessionally and just kind of bring up the webpage so I can show their name and then show their video. So bear with me for a second. But Isidra Leon from Guam, Mexico.
Guaymas.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, see the interruptions? See the interruptions in the plasma trail? That's RCS. That's RCS outgassing.
It's like little bumps.
Yep. Oh, that's so cool.
That's like right centered.
Oh,
Right
that's
below it.
fantastic.
Went right over. No kidding.
That's amazing. Thanks for sending that.
Wow. That's awesome.
What a view.
Oh,
I can't play the audio. I'm not quite set up to play the audio, but he's quite excited right now.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Should be. Absolutely. Like, imagine
I would
looking
be
up
excited.
and seeing that.
Yeah.
No
Absolutely stunning.
Thank
Really
you
well,
for sending,
well done.
for posting that, for taking the time to get your camera out and tagging us so we could share it here. But wait, there's more, Kevin. Question
But
mark?
wait, there is more. We have Chad. I'm going to rewind.
All
now,
right.
Chad is screaming in this.
Look at that!
Wow.
I actually had the camera going in the right part of the sky.
Oh, that's sweet.
Nice job, Chad. This was from a Chad, right?
It's bad Chad right there.
That's Chad.
That's Chad. Well, that's Starliner, but
well done, Chad.
Video from Chad.
Fantastic.
No
and
kidding.
Here's AT4 engineer.
Wow, that's low to the horizon.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
great shot.
I mean, this is just stunning footage. I would love to see this in real life, like in person. Wow, I didn't think it would look that beautiful.
Yeah. Those little flickering lights, like the little candle lights there in the garden. And a saguaro. Did it just go past the saguaro?
Are you looking at the garden decoration of the videos we are getting?
It was nice.
I see a cacti right there, Das.
I'm redoing my back deck. Like, I'm looking for inspiration in people's backyards.
There you go.
This is Accelerate Future. I don't know if this is it really live? Was this a photo?
I'm pretty sure that's a screen cap from the live
I
stream.
think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. This is from Richard.
Nice.
I'm going to rewind it.
All right, scanning the sky. There you go. Then you find it, and you turn the camera towards it. See, look, even though it was a little cloudy out, Richard still went outside. Like, still caught it over there in the corner, even though you can see those clouds up above you. Excellent. Again, I said it, like, what do you have to lose? Like, go outside, experience something like this, go crazy, like, no way, look at that. Like, hey.
It's like a beam of fire.
It's all cool.
So that is all I have captured so far. By the way, this image is not live, but it is from NASA right now.
It's one of those NASA, what's the word? Like consolation feeds. It's like, it's not a real feed, but here's a feed that we're just giving you. So.
It is a nice feed.
Oh, I'm seeing more coming in. So if you guys keep talking for a couple minutes, I'll get those prepped.
Hey, if you've got one of these and you put it on X, we're looking on X right now, but tag us at NASASpaceflight. While you're there, follow or whatever. You don't have to. It's not compulsory, but we'll grab a couple more of them and share them with you. Again, these aren't, fancy, expensive cameras mounted to planes. These are real people who just like got the camera they had, their cell phone, whatever, and stepped outside at the right time and looked at the sky in the right direction and were able to experience a visible trail of plasma from a spacecraft coming back home to Earth.
There's some folks in chat, Das, that are in El Paso that said Tim said he felt and heard that sonic boom. That's awesome.
No kidding.
That's sweet.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool, Tim. Thanks for letting us know. That's awesome.
Totally.
You wouldn't think, right?
Yeah, like totally forgot about that sonic boom, but of course, yeah. It's re-entering, so it will
is going fast. It's going fast, you know?
No.
And by the way, again, our community being so cool, they're going to some of the posts that we just showed and saying congratulations.
Nice.
So that's really cool.
I know, Kevin, you're busy. We may not have the bandwidth to put the links in chat over there for folks, but one way or the other, thank you for sharing this stuff with us.
Don heard the boom in Las Cruces. That's awesome. So cool. It's loud, isn't it? You're like, whoa, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
It's like a cannon going off.
Hey, there's a look at that, another hole in the cloud shot.
Chris's dogs are going crazy in the audio.
I like Kevin's descriptive video. Look at that, clouds everywhere, but you caught that one little hole in the clouds. That's what we said.
Excellent.
Like all you need is a little hole. Huh.
Look at that thing go. That's wild, man.
Very cool.
And here's a Metmex.
Metmex.
The streak was like so straight.
Yeah. You know, I think if it persisted, it would look like a curve, but over the length of the persistence of the trail, it's very straight, right? And then a car just like driving down the street, no clue what's happening in the sky above them right now, just like driving home from work, or I don't know, it's Friday night, they went out to the bar or something like that, and they don't have no clue that there's a spacecraft screaming through the sky above them. Well,
that always makes me
downrange.
sad because like there's also sometimes pictures or videos of people like ignoring rocket launchers behind them and stuff, and I'm always you just had to turn around to see something amazing.
Hey, there you go. Chris, NASA Spaceflight there. That's Chris B. Putting some of the links in chat. We probably not able to get them all, but Chris is going to paste some of the links that he's getting tagged with there, so y'all can head over there and tell people congratulations or thanks or, whatever. Oh, he's got them all. Apparently Chris has got them all, so.
I am loading a few more. I'll get those up in a second.
All right. Hey, we got a super chat that came in from Wumpy, who said, I'm definitely still skeptical with Boeing, given the recent history, but I can't deny that landing. Curious to see how this will affect the politics. I think that's a fair assessment, Wumpy. Like, there's still data to come in. How is it inside the capsule? All these sorts of things. Like, this can't run off and declare victory, and it doesn't feel right to say, I told you so, right? Like, that doesn't seem like really the right thing to do. Although, I guarantee you there's going to be some engineers saying that.
Yeah.
It is, something, 1 point doesn't make a line. Boeing's got sort of 3 shaky points now, but it's not a nice solid line like SpaceX has with their history of crew. But that's how you get there, right? You have to keep trying. You have to keep doing it. They have a couple more missions that have already been paid for, and we'll end up seeing how those go. Now, honestly, and this is my honest opinion, I don't see any commercial folks out there lining up to buy a ride on Starliner like you've got Polaris Dawn, Inspiration 4, or anything like that, Axiom on the Dragon capsules. I don't see that happening, but I'd like to see a couple more successful missions out of it and make some more inferences or opinions once they get a couple, they firm up that line a little bit.
I mean,
yes.
Did we have commercial customers lining up for Dragon after DM2?
Yeah.
It's an honest question. I don't remember. I mean, SpaceX it's been a blur, right? Like,
yeah, I'd have to go look it up. Like, I'd have to go and look at the date, and you don't even know, like, when was the mission announced versus when was it booked, and that's not necessarily when they first started talking. There's so much complexity, and quite often, or usually, it doesn't get shared.
I mean,
so
I know there's a lot of Starliner skeptics out there, we'll call them at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, we get it, but understand that NASA's fielding these 2 capsules for this reason. Everybody talks about redundant dissimilar architecture, right? And that's super important for ISS operations. But the whole point of the commercial crew program, guys, is to move low Earth orbit into an economic model, so a privatized model. So these capsules it's not just Boeing, it's not just Starliner versus, Dragon right now. These 2 capsules need to exist post ISS to fund as avenues of transportation for a commercial low Earth orbit market. NASA's even playing into this game with the commercial low Earth orbit destinations program. And hopefully in the future, we see a nice, healthy and robust low Earth orbit tourism, scientific research market. That's all driven by this privatization that started with the commercial crew program.
Space station market. Like, I want to see private space stations up there. Heck, launch them however you can. I didn't even care what rocket you put them on. Just get them up there.
It's you got to remember, I've been gunning for Starliner's success. You want it to be successful because you don't want the ISS to stop and then have a single avenue of transportation to get to a commercial low Earth orbit market, right? You got to have two avenues. You don't want market consolidation right before the market even happens. That's bad. So right now is the time to get the kinks worked out. I mean, you could pretty arguable that they kind of already have. I bet. I mean, that capsule's down on the ground, right? So
I mean,
it's going to take some time to review data, sure.
Yeah, they need to review the data, and they need a more firm understanding and explanation that they should share with us, by the way, as to what exactly was going on with the thrusters and exactly how they can make changes to prevent them in the future.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that is the thing. They need to sit down, and I want a freaking graph with a picture of a thruster on it, and I want them to tap it with a stick and be like, here is what was going on, tap, 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 and here is the change we are making so that the next time this flies, it's not going to be a concern, tap, tap, tap. And I want that. I don't think I'm going to get anybody tapping on a thruster diagram with a stick, but that's what I'd like.
I'll do it for science. Let's go.
I mean, in the overall picture, I think, yes, it's great that this came down successfully, but there are also issues that need to be addressed, and there are issues that Boeing now needs to understand and fix, because I'm very, like, don't make me wrong, I don't want to be, but after all, they had thruster issues, and we talked about it a lot of flame trench, and we talked a lot in the previous, and these were still quite significant problems, and they also had the leak problems that shouldn't exist anymore. Like, should be better understandable.
Yep.
And they really now have the homework to do with NASA together, and that's the good thing. Like, I'm very hopeful that NASA and Boeing together will manage to find out how to make this capsule more reliable, better, and in the future are able to bring crew home with this. Because
at least to finish the job that NASA has already paid them for.
Exactly.
Yes. Because yes, it's great that we have this redundancy and the ability to bring Butch and Sunny home right now on Dragon in the future. But nobody wanted that when this mission launched.
Yeah.
So and we don't want that for future missions. We want Starliner to work as reliable as Dragon. So yeah, that would be my wish. I love Starliner. I think it's an amazing capsule, and I'm wishing it the best of luck in the future, and that we see it fly again. Although with the certification process, that's another part here, I think there might be some time until it flies again, because I think there will be a serious, like, looking at every single detail before flying again.
Yeah. I agree.
You got to do your due diligence, but you got to remember, it's the long-term goal. That's the long-term goal of the commercial crew program. It's not just ferrying cargo to and from the ISS. The goal is to create a healthy and robust low Earth orbit market with redundant dissimilar architecture and multiple avenues to get up into low Earth orbit to grow the commercial market there. That's super, super important.
Yeah,
you got to remember that. Just keep your eyes on the prize, chat, right?
Yep. I think we're trying to get a couple more videos, shares that came in on social media here. Here's one.
So Eric Hancock has sent us a video in Google Photos.
No kidding.
All right.
Look at that. That's from Arizona. Oh, I like the accent lighting on the trees. That is a clear sky.
Yeah, that's one. You can see a bit of curve there, I think, right?
That's excellent.
It's like you want to see a bit of curve. Like, I want to believe that there's a bit of curve there.
If you're looking, guys, you see obviously where the capsule is, right? But when Eric zooms in there, you can actually see the recompression that's happening behind the capsule.
Behind it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Bounces,
it kind of it goes inward and then bounces out like
it's like a vacuum, and it's like coming back together as the atmosphere fills the hole that the spacecraft has made.
So cool. You can see recompression. Great footage. Great footage.
So here's Theron.
Oh.
That's not a bad shot. You got it. Like,
from Alamogordo. What do we got?
Look at that.
There you go.
I want to see that in real life at some point. Like, I
Look-
want to be in person there.
I'm going to ask, was somebody trying to laze the capsule? What's going on there?
It's a reflection from the light in the bottom right corner.
Is it?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if it's opposite of that light, but
It's a
maybe we have
very
digital
aggressive
zoom
and
effect
weird
going on.
Firefly.
Yeah. Hey, you got outside and you got to see it with your own eyes, which is fantastic. Like, don't apologize for the video quality or anything.
This is great, dude.
That's fantastic.
And like the more important part is that you got to see it. Adrian's sitting here, across the pond, and Das and I aren't exactly close to New Mexico either, right? You got to see this thing. You got to see a spacecraft come back. That's cool. It's if you know about this stuff, you know what it's doing. That is a transcendent experience,
It's not an everyday thing that a capsule comes back from space.
Yeah, it's great.
Silent Korak saying Starliner just flew over my house. I can imagine how exciting that would be, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I remember that I was excited when I first saw a Starlink train, and that was just a Starlink train.
Right. Adrian, I don't know about you. Anytime I go outside and it's nighttime, I always look up, see if I can see a Starlink satellite. People think I'm crazy.
It's 100% this thing where
No.
where I'm going out of a door, I'm looking at a night sky, I'm like, how long does it take for me to find a Starlink? Oh,
Yep.
there it is.
Yep. Dude, it happens. I was sitting around a campfire a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh, there's a Starlink just out of the blue." Like people were talking about like football or something, American football, and I'm like, "Starlink," and they're like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "It's a satellite. Do you see it?" Oh.
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh, I outed myself as a huge nerd." Okay, I'm just gonna go over here.
I think we might have gotten to the end of the videos that we found so far. We might not have found them all, but we were trying to look there for folks that tagged us. We get a lot of tags sometimes, but we just wanted to share some of those with y'all. If you were out there and you saw it, hey, even if you didn't get a picture or anything like that, but you're able to see it with your own eyes, that is fantastic. And if you didn't get to see it with your own eyes, you were here hanging out with us wherever you were from all over the world. We're glad we were able to share this with you. There's a super chat from Daniel Thornton real quick saying, thank you, NSF, for the great coverage. Daniel, we can keep doing it because people like you keep showing up and supporting us. People in the member program, people doing super chats, gifting memberships, all the different ways that y'all support what we do. That's why we can hang out with y'all on a Friday night.
Our friend John Krause sent us a message on X as it was coming in when we saw the video from the ISS, and he does believe that it was Matthew Dominic who was shooting that.
Because there was a Nikon overlay on those cameras.
Yep.
That's
amazing.
Very cool. And y'all, that's how much the capsule just taps the brakes. Like the space station itself was still flying above the capsule as it went down to the atmosphere. It's not like they were on opposite sides of the planet or anything like that. Like you could see it there from the ISS. So how cool is that?
Great.
Back to panel 2 here, it looks like.
Yep.
Our panel 2 cam.
Panel 2 fans can now relieve. We are finally back to panel 2.
That is a nice flap, you might say.
Yeah. Very nice flap.
All
Amazing.
right.
Look at this flap. Sorry, I won't do that again.
Well, here's my sort of parting question for y'all. I'm curious, there's still 8,000 people. You know, the big event, there were 30,000 people hanging out with us, and the event's over and people go home. But is there anybody in the chat who's never been to one of our streams before? Like, I'm curious. Did you just tonight for the first time find NSF? And if so, do you think you might come back to hang out with us for a launch or for SpaceX testing something at Starbase or something like that? Like I'm curious if this is the first time. There's Tim, first time on the stream from Tim. First time from Christina Jarvis there. Jarvis or Jarvis, don't know which one. Roger Wright for the first time. Not mutilated popsicles. Okay, well, I read your name out. Senior Streams finally decided to watch. Had fun, will be back. Amy Saranowski gave that one a shot. First time here. Mark Merchant, yes. Michael just subscribed. Thanks for the coverage. Who's
Ryan.
NSF? That's us. Chazzy Mac right here. Chris Johnson was the first time. You got a Ryan in there, Adrian?
Yeah, Depot Dolphin saying first time for him.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's why you have a wrench next. Take the wrench next to his name so people believe him. This is my first stream that I remember. You used to tune into the official NASA broadcast. Rishav says, Paradoxical Cat, you guys are why I didn't go to bed yet. It's 5:30 in the 6:30 your time. Isn't it, Adrian?
Sorry, yeah, it's 6:31.
We're gonna have to move Adrian into the sleeping channel if we keep him up any longer.
I still cannot get over the fact that channel exists.
Subscribe. Old Al says we need some sort of subscriber SMS alert to people's phones. Check out NASASpaceflight. There's an app for Android and iOS that we manage, we run, called NASASpaceflight, and it will actually put alerts on your phone when launches are happening, when tests are happening, all that sort of stuff. And in the notification that you get will be a link to our stream if we are covering it. We cover most things that happened, especially if we've got folks that are cameras there. So anyways, it is a good app. And Nikonda, it is a good app. I agree. But anyways, folks, if you're here for the first time, welcome. This is what we do. My name is Das. EJ was here with me. EJ, voice to a name?
Oh, yeah, that's me. Thank you very much for having me on here. It's a privilege sharing this with you guys, and I do appreciate it, Das. Thank you very much.
Dude, this was a good time. I'm glad you were able to join us. We also had Adrian here. Adrian, name to a voice for the folks.
I absolutely had an amazing time here. Enjoyed discussing Starliner with you all, and also get excited. Like, it was fun to just go into weird screaming mode once we saw Plasma. So always fun, and I would do it over again.
Good deal. We have a ton of people, folks, helping us out in the back channel. Our producer, Kevin Michael Reed, clicking the buttons and pulling the levers this evening. Every now and then you heard him hop in as the disembodied voice. I guess we were all disembodied voices tonight.
I'm in my body. I'm not disembodied.
And Chris is telling me behind the scenes that my keyboard is famous now too. Sorry for typing. I didn't plan on being on stream, but it was just
very mechanical.
Yeah, it's very clicky. It makes a lot of noise.
Is it what we got? You got blue switches in there, Kev, or what?
I do.
Oh, good man. Good man.
There's a
lot of respect for you.
Command for it. It's exclamation point tab.
Tab.
It's just tap. That's hilarious.
Hey, we had Jay Keegan in the background as well, helping with some of the ancillary things, one of our producers as well. The news team, people helping us check facts and get information when we're answering questions and reading chat back there. It's an entire cast of people that makes this sort of coverage happen. But for tonight, that's going to go ahead and end our live coverage of the Starliner CFT return. No crew on board, but the capsule is down there in New Mexico. I want to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us this evening. If you want to find your way back, you know how to do it. If you supported us so we can keep doing this, we appreciate you as well. That's why we keep showing up. But for now, that's going to be the end of the stream, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks for watching.
And here we go.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantic. Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange! Orange 45! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! What is it? Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?